being objective and very rational rather than emotional about a problem. And this problem of conflict and continuous prolonged conflict and absence of communication is something that has to be dealt with in a very non-provocative manner. So we at Phuro Innovations are an intellectual platform. We are not activists. We do not want to do anything that is not in line with our government's vision or norms or rules they have set up. But at the same time, I think in private individual capacity and as a private institution, I think I should have the right to do business with who I want to. And that is something that I want to request, because CII being a non-profit organization, and they were established in first way to do trade in SAARC. There's 94% trade dead in SAARC. And I think that's not really good, because we are a poor nation. We are literally surrounded by poverty to the, yes, exactly. And it's hitting below belt now. If not now, then when are we going to think about it? And as a private institution, like I said before, I would request the CII to extend help. That is their job. I think it's like Red Cross. You know, like Red Cross as an NGO, everybody knows it. They can't say, I'm not going to a war zone. That's not why they were established, right? So even if we have conflict and they are deep-rooted and they need political conversation or discussion, with due respect, please go ahead with that, but at least let people do business. And that's what my opinion on that is. You know about the Indus Treaty, right? Yeah, and I want to share with you that we can learn from the Indus Treaty. You know, so that is a one successful peace treaty between India and Pakistan, and it's a successful story. In your private capacity, you don't have a baggage, right? You don't have any baggage of your political party, or you don't have a baggage of your ideology. You're a government employee. You can't do that. You can simply start at least getting into normalcy towards opening dialogues, towards doing some kind of business, and going back to your states, your countries, wherever you belong to, and seeking protection and safety from the government. Because that's what they are there for. Aren't they there to save our lives, save our health, give me education? That's the first thing that we need from them.
Exactly. Why? See, 3.4 billion US dollars assistance by India to Sri Lanka.
Exactly. Big point.
You know, the SAARC nations are facing deep economic crisis. This needs to be dealt, and there are ways you can work. Even just 2 days earlier, if you recollect, Pakistan was also sounding. They were saying that we can restart our trade with Pakistan. Though of course, with India. Though of course later on they clarified, they have not yet taken any such stand. But then the thinking is there. You obviously it's a fantastic idea if the non-state actors can contribute. I think this is going to go in a very very right direction, long direction. Let's see how it.
Yeah, my last question to you would be not question, but is how people like you who have the influence in the governments, in the political institutions, and of course across the audience, people are watching you, to help people like us who have this kind of, I will say, purpose in life, and make that purpose into something which is tangible, which creates some value.
This continued environment of hostility is not in favor of anybody. So yes, in response to your question, as a friend, I assure you, whatever concrete comes out of this coming together, everybody putting across their point of view, I shall try my best to convince the establishment along with you guys. We can go in delegation or maybe otherwise and present our notes to them and maybe assist them, support them, maybe give them good innovative ideas in whichever direction we can move.
Exactly. I think this is exactly what we need to do, and this is exactly what they need. They need help, because they are dealing with a country which is in crisis all the time, and they are doing crisis management. So definitely we can do the thinking job for them.
Rather than going and convincing somebody in Europe or somebody in the US. So the market research here can be more precise, because we know about the likings of my dear brothers. So why are we not focusing here? Is it only because of political will which is not allowing us to enter these countries? Canada, if you see, they are dependent on the US for their defense. So they save a lot of money, which they spend elsewhere on their infrastructure, on giving better medical facilities to the people, giving free insurances and things like that. Why cannot India adopt some countries and give them defense support? And rather, we can make our defense base stronger, manufacturing base stronger. So something like this, it has to be a barter. What our ancestral did was all barter. So it's a give and take. And as I come from business, so what is it in for me? So yeah, so that is the bottom line. So if we see, we have to see these countries as opportunities. Imagine a farmer exporting to these countries will have better realization, better quality, better technology can be exchanged. Agri-tech is still a very big opportunity space that can be explored. So why cannot we have bigger agricultural areas put together? Like in Sri Lanka, we have cinnamon. Why cannot we import that in a bigger quantity? Why cannot we export turmeric to some of these countries? Why Pakistan is only taking few products from us?
As a Sri Lankan, I really have to thank India for all the help and support because, this is the one incident that we've been through wars, we've been through horrible times in Sri Lanka, but this has been the worst. If someone's sick, where do you get medicine from? If your car has to be whether with you or with a driver, whatever, 4 days, 5 days in a queue for petrol. This was one situation that money didn't really buy you out of it unless you leave your country and go. And then you have dogs. It was just one of those things we had to live through, and India saw us through. So thank you to India, and thank you for allowing me to share a few thoughts. What I'll try to do is just to give you a overview of Sri Lanka and the potential in terms of today. And I'll do it as quickly as possible because I know it's getting late and all of you have better things to do than to sit here listening to me going on. So, but in order to tell you about opportunities very quickly, I think the cause of the conflict in Sri Lanka, it's not one politician, it's not one political party, it's not corruption. It is sort of what the doctor would say, lifestyle. We've been indisciplined, we've overconsumed. We've run fiscal deficits for 50 plus years. We've run trade deficits for 50 plus years. We've run up $100 billion worth of debt in a $80 billion GDP economy, 50 billion locally, 50 billion from abroad. So that is the problem. And the reality, I'm within friends, so I'm not going to sort of hold things back. IMF isn't going to solve this problem. They'll give us more loans and more debt. And really, if we are saying that the problem is a trade deficit and a fiscal deficit, free trade agreements are great. We've got a great quality of life, short distances. Again, situationally, the IMF and the whole reform structure gives you situational benefit. The port city of Colombo, it's too complicated to go on, but it's a 40-year tax holiday in an offshore city inside of Sri Lanka. So again, another opportunity. It is estimated that we have $200 to $300 billion worth of offshore oil reserves that are now beginning to be harvested. Right? So again, I think we're at the cusp of resurgence, and all we need is help from our friends, i.e. India, our neighbors, and rational politicians, which sadly has been a significant stumbling block, but Okay. In terms of what areas, I think tourism and construction are very low-hanging fruit. Because of the dollar crisis, construction companies haven't been able to import raw materials. What happens, what is the world going to be like if the American dollar is no longer global currency? What about America and China? What about China and Taiwan? What about the global recession? And it looks like this is a big global recession. And so in that context, I see peace more in terms of economic growth, because I think if there's economic sustainability and a parity of growth, then that is a platform for peace to follow. And I do think, friends, that the time is now.
I'm glad that we all made through pandemic together. And God has given us a beautiful opportunity to redesign our lives. And in that redesign, I think I'm just making an effort to redesign a bright and future and peaceful SARC. And I'll tell you, I was launched into world peace space because I have seen the absence of world peace, which really is real madness. And that madness is something that I have seen on the streets of Jammu and Kashmir as a child. And that madness I continue to see in the world, around the world, and of course in my own region in SARC. So you will say, why SARC? And I'll tell you, because charity begins at home. And home is where your heart is. Home is where you share your ancestral genetics, history, language, and several other things. And that is bleeding right now. If you see the reality of SARC, it's very scary. It's not the most conducive environment to be in for anyone or any future leader. And I'll give you an example of Indian economy, which is we are a emerging nation, but we struggle with poverty, hunger, and disease. We have a failed regime in Afghanistan. Sri Lanka filed for bankruptcy. We have just enough and struggling Nepal, Bhutan, and Bangladesh. And we have a disappearing Maldives because of the environmental degradation and climate change. And if these things are not addressed and accepted and just internalized as good civilians and good citizens of this country and this region, I think will have repercussions, and that's right coming ahead of us. And I want India to take lead and find common grounds of communication and dialogue and see how they can build resilience, how they can build their capacity to solve that with tolerance and patience and lead us out of this real bad times which are coming ahead of us. So how are we going to do that? What are we doing? When you leave today, you are going to get a docket from our office, and that tells you what we've done, what we intend to do, etc. And we have subject matter experts here today with me who are going to tell us what we can do, how we can come together as leaders, as thought leaders, as innovators, as change makers, and do something in our individual capacity and give back to SARC. For Sri Lanka, today I welcome my friend. He's an economist. He's the founder of Insolve Lanka, and of course the secretary at the Harvard Club of Sri Lanka. Besides that, he's also a consulate of Cote d'Ivoire. He's going to rekindle hope and tell us what are the opportunities in Sri Lanka and what we can do. I welcome you, Sharan. Thank you for coming all the way from Sri Lanka. We also have with us a leader today who's very passionate about business and trade in South Asia, my friend, an alumnus from Harvard Business School, Saurabh Shah. Saurabh, I welcome you and thank you for your support and your presence today. I also would like to say thank you to Ashwini. I think he's yet not reached. There's a lot of traffic in Gurgaon. Founder of Phuro is a logistics company and supply chain. They were a startup. I'm very proud of him that they've raised about 70 crores. Thank you, Ashwini.
Even in today's day and time, we remain a violent species. There is war happening in different corners of the world. But I would like to reiterate what our Prime Minister also said, that this is not the era of war. I think everybody can find that change within them. And we all have to find that change of learning to live with each other and resolving our differences through dialogue, because that is what peace is about. That is my message on World Peace Day for all the youth as well, is keep the dialogue open, keep talking to each other. That is the best way to achieve peace. Cheers.
People need to be inclusive and tightly inclusive, and we need to ensure that no politician allows lines to be drawn across the races and the religions. And I think that's the core of it.
And you don't need anything else other than business just to be running successfully for all the nations and helping each other. Every country has ample of something and shortage of some things. So we should exchange the best possible things. So if a farmer in India has to export his goods, so of course the opportunity for him increases, the prices come down. So there are a lot of advantages. If I give many examples, COVID was an exact good example. Though it was a bad situation we all were in, but during COVID, India being the best, one of the best medical equipped countries, we could export a lot of vaccines, a lot of medicines to all these emerging countries, developing countries. So I think, yeah, during crisis, how we've supported each other, I think this should go on forever. So this will support the global peace.
Firstly, thank you to everyone, to Rachna and her team for inviting me.
Thank you so much, sir.
And I think world peace is about being inclusive. The world is full of different people, different cultures, different religions. And that difference is what makes all of us richer. And it's a question of embracing the differences and becoming one with the differences instead of trying to polarize it.
Very nice, sir. So, how do you think that this community building, with the concept of peace around it, how it helps building a nation and communities?
Well, I think in terms of my outlook on the event, everyone's lives getting better. Because if everyone is in economic strife, then that's one form of peace that's not there. So
People who disrupt peace are the people who are not at peace with themselves. They have something troubling them. There is societal issues troubling them. Could be family issues troubling them. Could be unfulfilled desires troubling them. It could be inequality that is troubling them. So first you have to be at peace for yourself. If you're not at peace with yourself, I don't think you can create peace for anybody else. That creates the stress to perform, and everything is leads from there. There's so much comparison. I keep saying the thief of happiness and peace is comparison, criticism, and complaining.
The absence of violence is peace, and that's what we have to believe in. But peace also means about being strong. You know, it means about protecting yourself. You have to be strong, very strong, to be able to have peace.